How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a very interesting story, to say the least. I mean, you can read the title of the video. Yeah, basically a prank gone very wrong. So yeah, sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump right into it. Real quick, if you could go on screen and follow my Twitter account, it's at Pugs. It's on screen right now. It'd be cool to hit 1,000 followers within a day of making it, and we're only at 200, so go ahead and follow it. Let's try and get there. But anyways, let's hop right into the story and call the subscriber Ryan. So anyways, in Ryan's class, there's this kid who we're going to call Ben, and he was known as, like, the prankster in the school. I don't know if you guys ever had that kid who was always kind of known as maybe, you know, the class clown or something, or the kid always, like, trying to play pranks on people. But basically, right, Ben had always, like, throughout the years, had always been playing pranks on people. For example, he once, like, put a thumbtack under, like, the teacher's chair, which, by the way, never do that. He got in a ton of trouble, and he almost got kicked out of the school. Another time, he put, like, whoopee cushions under the seats of, like, this sofa that everyone sat in for music class. So when everyone sat down, it was, like, a farting in unison, which, he also got in a little trouble. Less trouble for that, right? He was just always pulling some kind of prank, and he was always skirting the line of getting kicked out because his pranks, you know, most of the time they were somewhat harmless, but they were always breaking the rules. And the kid was kind of just known as the prankster kid. However, he's been known as a prankster kid since first grade, and now Ryan and Ben and all the other kids are in 7th grade. And, you know, apparently Ben, the prankster kid, was kind of feeling like, man, I think I'm falling off. By the way, you can listen to these stories on Spotify, link in the description. Please rate it 5 stars. Anyways, you know, Ben was thinking, man, I'm falling off. The last time I did a major prank was in 5th grade. That's basically when he got a bunch of water balloons from home, filled them up, and when people got to recess, he took them out of his backpack and started pelting kids. He got in-school suspension for a day for that one. And Ben was thinking to himself, man, I'm really starting to fall off. Last time I did a major prank was 5th grade. And, like, people, they probably don't even know me as the prankster kid. They know me as the kid who used to pull pranks. I need to do something so big and so crazy that, like, people are going to know me and people are going to respect me, and I will be the prankster kid once again. And the thing is, right, Ryan kind of spoke with Ben a little bit, but they really weren't friends. Ryan kind of had a smaller class, so he kind of got to know everyone anyways, but, you know, at the end of the day, Ryan and Ben weren't that close. So sure enough, right, the prankster kid, Ben, is thinking to himself, what is the biggest prank that I could pull? And that's when it comes to him. And I'm just going to say that for the rest of the video. So let's just skip ahead to Friday. And so Ryan's sitting in class, and this is one of the classes that he has Ben with. And it's kind of like the teacher is a little late to class or whatever, and all the students are kind of sitting around waiting, just talking to each other. And Ben kind of gets up, and he gets everyone's attention. He's like, guys, and everyone turns around, and they look at him. He's like, you're not going to believe this, but I have the biggest prank in store ever. Like, it is bigger than anything I have ever done before, and I guarantee you that. So everyone's kind of looking at him like, okay, and he's like this will trump every prank that I have ever done. I guarantee it. And my, like, legend will live on forever at this school. And, everyone's kind of looking around and they're like, okay, whatever. So Ben sits down and Ryan, who is near him, turns over and just, like, politely asks, like, oh, what's the prank? And, Ben's like, looks at him, he's like, dude, if I told you the prank, it wouldn't really be a prank, right? Like, I can't prank you with something you already know. And, Ryan's like, dude, like, just tell me a little bit. And Ben's like, let me just say that it's gonna get everybody so good, and everybody is gonna be involved in this prank. Everybody in the school. And Ryan in his head is thinking to himself, like, is this, like, some mass chain email or something? Is this going to be, like, some big, funny, like, I don't know, penis-looking drawing that he drew outside or something that everyone has to pass by until groundskeepers come and take it down? Like, Ryan had no idea what direction it was going in, so he was kind of interested. And for the rest of the class, life just continued on. They were just talking, and Ben kind of kept to himself. And people were kind of curious, but they also kind of were like, okay, whatever. That Ben kid, once again, is doing his pranks. Like, I kind of thought he grew out of it, but I guess not. So let's just skip ahead to lunchtime. And so anyways, Ryan and his friends were sitting down at the table, and Ryan some days randomly brought packed lunch. Like, he would pack his lunch back home and he would bring it in. And let me just say that you can probably tell by the title of the video that this was an incredibly lucky turn of event for Ryan, because he was able to basically avoid this whole situation because he brought a packed lunch that day. But all of Ryan's friends sitting at the table did not avoid the terrible, terrible day that was about to pursue, right? So they're all eating their, I don't know exactly what the meal is, but it's something that you could easily slip like a laxative into. So I think it was like let's say it was a chili day, because just think a big pot of chili, right? So it was chili and cornbread, and, I don't know what Ryan had, but he brought maybe like a turkey sandwich from home or something like that. So they're all sitting at the table, they're all eating their food, and towards the end of lunch, one of the kids is like, "Oh man, like I'm not feeling so hot. Like, something's off." And the other kids are like, "Dude, like, are you good? Are you sick or something?" And the kid's like, "I don't know. I feel like it was the chili." And the other kids are like, "Well, I'm feeling fine, so I think it's just you." And they all thought at first this kid just had like a stomach virus or something. And let's just skip forward to the class, right? So Ryan and Ben are not in the same class after lunch, but Ryan and basically every kid who is sitting at Ryan's table are in that class, right? So Ryan and his friends are sitting towards the back of the class. They're kind of talking. They kind of sit back there so they can like not pay attention and talk to each other, which Ryan says, disclaimer, you should pay attention in school. This happened many years ago. Ryan's now in high school, and he's like, I wish I did better back then. I wish I got some more fundamentals down. So if you're in 7th grade, focus on your math, bro. Like, it all builds on itself. Trust me, I'm trying to do like long division. I'm like, what is this? I haven't seen this since 4th grade. Anyways, they're all sitting there, and that's when all of Ryan's friends, besides Ryan himself, they just start to look a little queasy. They just start to look like, they're all like kind of like either curling up or hunching up or clutching their stomachs in some way. Like, it's just some way that, like, I don't know. It's just very apparent that something is uncomfortable to all of them. So Ryan leans over to one of his friends. We'll call him John. And he's like, "Yo, John, like, what's good?" And John's like, "Bro, I'm not feeling good." And, Ben's like, or not Ben, Ryan's like, "Dude, like, do you think it was like lunch today?" He's like, "I don't know, man. Like, everyone else here is kind of like, I don't know. Am I the only one?" And he turns around and John like leans over to, I don't know, Steve. He's like, "Yo, Steve, how you doing?" He's like, "Dude, I'm dying." So eventually it's kind of like, Ryan starts to look around, and it's not just his friends. It's everybody in that class besides him and the teacher, because the teachers have a separate lunch in a separate room that they eat it in. It's everyone in that class is just kind of starting to ball up and cramp up. And then the first of many hands raise. So it's a girl at the front of the class. Call her like Audrey, right? Raises her hand. She's like, "Miss Davenport, can I go to the bathroom?" Miss Davenport's like, "Yeah, sure, make it quick." Another hand goes up. It's like, "Yes, Steve?" "Hey, Miss Davenport, I'm so sorry. I really need to go to the bathroom." She's like, "Okay, like, please be fast." Then another person raises their hand like, "Hey, Miss Davenport, can I go to the bathroom?" Miss Davenport's like, the policy, only 2 people up at a time. And that's when 2 more hands go up. And Miss Davenport's like, "What?" And she's like, "Yes." And she kind of points to them. They're like, "Hey, I don't know if I can, like, I don't know if I can hold this in much longer. Like, I need to go to the bathroom." And Miss Davenport's kind of just like, "What's going on? Like, are you guys playing a prank on me?" And she looks around the room, and she really looks around the room. And that's when she sees everyone's face looks all nauseous and queasy and just not very good. And she's like, hey, well, hold up. And she kind of stops the class for a second. And she's like, "Is everyone not doing so well? Raise your hand if you feel like you need to go to the bathroom." Every single freaking hand except for Ryan shoots up. And Miss Davenport's like, "Oh my God." So she goes to her phone, she calls up the school nurse, and she's on the phone. She says, "Hey, we got a bit of a situation. I think there was something messed up with the lunch, every single kid in my class needs to go to the bathroom right now, unless they're all pulling a big prank on me. And she looks, out at everyone, and they just shake their heads no, like very, very suddenly. And the school nurse is like, hey, thank you so much for your report. I'm actually it does seem to be something in the lunch. I'm dealing with many, many, many other cases. And at this point, it's kind of an issue because she's like, all right, well, Ms. Davenport's like, okay, class, well, I didn't think I need to do this, but let's all get up and let's all walk over to the bathroom together. I just want to make sure this is organized and quick. So they all walk out, right? Ryan too. And this is surreal. He's never had to do anything like this. And honestly, Ms. Davenport is just winging this at this point because she's never had everyone in the class is like explosive diarrhea at this point. Like, this has never happened before. So they're all walking out and they get to the bathroom, right? There's a line out the door. So one thing I've noticed is like in the airport, like the women's bathroom always has a line and the men's bathroom doesn't. I guess it's just easier, like faster for, guys to go to the bathroom because of just how the things work, right? There was lines out of both doors. Every single bathroom in the school had a line out of it. It was so incredibly bad. So I don't want to describe every single detail of the following events, but let me just say that, it's a problem when you have like 300 kids that need to go to the bathroom and there's like 8 stalls. A little bit of math. 300 is bigger than 8. Just a little bit of math there. So that was kind of known as the dark day at Ryan's school. That was known as like the day of despair. So there was like 2 other kids that, didn't have any of these issues. So it was Ryan, he brought his own lunch, and then 2 vegetarian kids who had a different kind of chili that was made off to the side. So they report this to the school nurse because I think it's important to get down to to figure out what's going on. They go to the school nurse. And it's Ryan and the 2 vegetarian kids. And they basically say, hey, Ryan's like, hey, I didn't have any food today. And these kids, they only had the vegetarian chili. So and they kind of came to the conclusion that there's something wrong with the main chili, right? So they immediately, the nurse is immediately reports this news to the principal, who's online with 15 parents that are calling frantically, what's going on? Is there a sickness? Is there a virus? Is there stuff like that, right? Which is totally understandable. I mean, your kid's having little spaghetti-o potty moments, right? So I'm not going to go to the details of the school situation because it was not great, right? And basically tons of parents were coming to the school to pick up their kids because their kids were sick, right? I mean, it seemed like they were all sick, and everyone just kind of chalked it up to food poisoning. And that's when Ryan was sitting there. This all clicked in his head. This all clicked in his mind when he was sitting in the nurse's office. He was just sitting in the nurse's office, just thinking about, oh man, what was wrong with the chili? And that's when a thought kind of went through his head of, yeah, Ben this morning said that he was pulling the biggest prank ever and that it would affect literally everyone. And that's when when Ryan puts 2 and 2 together. He's like, oh my God, Ben is behind this. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Ben down below. I just like seeing the names and faces of people who make it this far into the video. And also, if you want to support the channel, all you need to do is just keep watching these videos. If you just let them continue to play while you do something else, or you're watching them, or if you use these videos to help you go to sleep, if you just keep watching these videos and some of the recommended, it really does help out the channel. And let me know in the comment section what you're doing while watching these videos, or how many videos you've watched, or for example, some people use these videos to help them go to sleep, etc., stuff like that. Let me know in the comment section. I'm genuinely interested. Also, please follow the Twitter. I'm trying to get that up, trying to get my numbers up. So yeah, follow that. Also, just so you know, every episode as of a week ago is now available on Spotify. It's the first link besides the Twitter in the description of these videos. If you do watch them on Spotify, do me a favor and follow and turn on notifications, and also rate 5 stars on Spotify. I'm new there, so even one rating of 5 stars really does help me out. Also, use code ConnorPugs for 10% off gamer subs. It's really good stuff. If you want an energy drink or a cool cup or t-shirt or something, it not only gets you 10% off, which helps you, it also helps me because I get a little part of that as well. It's a nice little brand deal we've done. And anyways, with that being said, follow my Instagram at ConnorPugs to submit stories, and let's just jump right into it. So Ryan is sitting there, and he realizes that this is Ben's doing. This is Ben's doing, right? So Ryan immediately says, "Hey, nurse." And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you think it's possible that someone might have put something in the chili?" And she's like, "Why? I just think this chili went bad or something." And that's when, Ryan's like, "So this might be a bit of a long shot. And I don't necessarily know if this means anything, and maybe I'm looking too deep into this. Maybe I'm just looking too deep. That happens sometimes. But there's this kid in my school. His name's Ben." And the nurse is like, "Oh, I know Ben." And, he's like, "Yeah, so he's kind of known as, like, the prankster, but he hasn't pulled a big prank in a while. And he told me in class that today he was going to pull a prank so big that it would affect everyone in school and that everyone would be affected by it." And I was just thinking, like, basically everyone in school has been affected by some kind of something, right? They all need to go to the bathroom pretty bad. I don't know. Maybe I'm just spitballing here. And the nurse is like, I don't know. Like, I will definitely write that down. But it just seems like a bit of a stretch. We think the most likely situation is just there was something wrong with the meat. We're already contacting the provider that got us the beef for the chili, and also the other ingredient providers, just to send them a message saying that, something was wrong. And we're waiting for something to come back if they're going to do some tests and figure out that if it's on their side or on our side. And, Ryan, while Ryan was kind of told no there, he didn't let that stop him, because he was growing more and more confident that, yes, in fact, Ben was behind all of this. So Ryan actually goes and finds Ben. And sure enough, who's not in the bathroom cramping and doing other stuff? It's Ben, man. It's frickin' Ben. He's standing there smiling, and he's laughing a little bit. And Ryan goes up to him. He's like, "Hey, man, like, you look fine. You're not sick?" He's like, "Of course I'm not sick." And he smiles at Ryan. And Ryan is like, this dude's super guilty, but he's like, "So, like, what do you think this could be?" And Ben's like, I don't know. Definitely seems like something that, would affect everyone and would have totally pranked them all. But I don't know, that's just me. And Ryan's like, oh my God, he just admitted to it. So he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me know if you have any guesses, because me and some of my friends are trying to guess it as well." Immediately, Ryan rushes to the principal's office. He's like, Principal, I think I know what went wrong. It's not spoiled meat." The principal's like, okay. He's like, "Is there any way for you to test the, I think I know, like, what happened." And basically he goes on to explain exactly what he explained to the nurse, but then also says, "Hey, I just went up to Ben, and this is exactly what he said." Like, he was answering really weirdly. He basically I feel like he just admitted here, stuff like that. The principal's like, "Okay, well, that's pretty suspicious, and I've had to deal with Ben for the last, 6 years or so, and he's definitely pulled off big pranks. And it wouldn't be completely out. I mean, this is a whole step above, and he's definitely getting kicked out if he did anything like this, but I don't know. That's actually very interesting, Ryan." So the principal goes on to say, "Well, what could it have been?" And, Ryan doesn't really know what could have been. And so Ryan's like, "I got an idea." So he goes and finds Ben again. He's like, "Hey, Ben, what do you think this is?" Ben's like, "I don't know, man. I really don't know." He kind of has, a little bit of a smile. And Ryan's like, No. If you had to make a guess, what was in the chili to make everyone react this way, what do you think it was?" And Ben, who couldn't hold his tongue, would be like, "Well, by the looks of how they're, having a situation in the bathroom right now, maybe someone snuck a laxative or two, or way too many, into the chili. I mean, it would have been so easy, and no one would have been able to tell." At this point, Ryan's like, I think he just admitted to this. So he goes back to the principal again, and he says, "This is what Ben told me. Is there any way for us to test?" And sure enough, right, the principal's like, "Okay, let me contact, the nurse." And the nurse contacted some other people, and they sent a batch of chili that, was never, it was, the extra chili to some kind of laboratory or something to test. And for the next week, they had literally no idea, right? And they were also trying to figure out if they had any, security cam footage. And they had some camera footage. They were looking around, and they were like, "We don't know." And that's when, a week later, they get the lab results back. And sure enough, there were laxatives placed into the chili. So before they make any announcement, right, a week later, they do they don't do a random, but they do right away, they do a search on Ben's locker. And what do you think they find? What do you think they find inside? They find an empty box of laxatives. The kid didn't even throw out the box, which would have completely kept him from being incriminated. Well, not completely, but it would have been pretty good, because they probably would have found something else, like maybe some camera footage, maybe some witnesses, maybe he left class at a certain time and was gone for too long or something like that. But Ben literally left an empty box of laxatives, in his, locker. So after that, the principal, took Ben out of class, randomly. They got a whole team. They basically cross-examined him with, what actually happened. They kind of interrogated him. All of his answers completely fell through because he had no idea that he was going to be caught. That plus the very clear evidence of, the box, right? Actually having the box in his, office, or not his office, but in his locker, was just enough, right? It was just enough, and yeah, they basically figured out that it was him. And, no more suspensions, no more letters that you have to write home, no more. No, he just got expelled at that point. He was on thin ice, and he basically endangered the health of everyone at that school. So an email was sent out, by the principal saying, hey, I just want to let all this, all the parents know that the food was not poisoned. In fact, it was a student who went and put, laxatives in the school lunch. That student has been disciplined and no longer goes to the school. We apologize for any inconvenience. Please let any medical care providers know that was the situation. If your sons or daughters are being tested for some kind of food poisoning or whatever, right? And that was the last time Ryan ever talked to Ben ever again, because he lived in the same neighborhood, but they just never really hung out. He ended up going to a different school in another district, and yeah. So moral of the story is just don't do what Ben did.
Click on the video
guys,
on screen
please.
right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.